Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Facility Fridays. Facilities Fridays. Wow, I gotta get the title right. Um, Thanks for joining me. Hopefully, everyone's got fun plans for the weekend. But we're gonna talk today. Today's topic is gonna be elevator etiquette and best practices. No standing ovation? Okay. All right, thank you. I gotta solicit the clapping. All right. So let's get started here. The first thing I want to talk about is the elevator status. We've been on a kind of a hot streak here at Horizon House. I don't know if you guys remember, probably about a year ago we were having a lot of elevator issues, and thankfully Otis has really gotten to the bottom of most of them. And as you well know, we had another contract, and they had to, and they weren't doing such a great job, and so we changed to Otis, and they really had to do a lot to sort of unbury themselves from all of the issues that were neglected, or weren't really sort of taken care of as well as they should have been from the previous contractor. So I think that we're at a good place now, and that can we really track the sort of data, and we're able to sort of look at how many elevators are, how often the elevators are down, and if they're down, how many callbacks they get for the same issue, and we've really been in a good place. So I just want to kind of go over the status of all the cars. Currently, all the elevators are working. That deserves a round of applause, right? Come on. So I'm going to go kind of car by car, or zones, and talk about it. So car 10 and 11, which is the North Tower, for the apartments, those have been really doing well. I think last weekend we had a call, and it was down Sunday, and they came out Monday and fixed it. But for several months we've had no issues with those elevators, which is great. Car 8 and 9, which are the one right over here, I remember several months ago they had an issue with a part that was just on back order for it seemed like forever. Well, when they got that part in, those elevators have been really great as well. 6 and 7 are the two elevators that are in the west wing, and those elevators are basically there are not a lot of residents living there, so they haven't had a lot of work, but they do provide they do go to parking and Monday market and other amenities. Gardens, yeah, absolutely, and storage areas and that kind of thing. And so those elevators have been working really well too. No issues there. Sorry. And elevators 1 through 5, which are kind of the horseshoe right around the reception area and the bistro, those have been really well. I think we had an issue with elevator number 4 for a day a couple of weeks ago, but outside of that, they've been really good. So I just wanted to really talk about how the health of the elevators, and we have a couple of issues with a button on elevator 3 those buttons are hard to source, but especially in those older elevators 1 through 5, those parts and the elevator buttons are hard to source, and so that's why you might see an elevator 3 that's sort of a makeshift cover for I think it's floor 15. I will answer all questions at the end. There'll be a question and answer. Okay, well, give me a second, and I'll get back. I'll get back to you. But the elevators themselves have been in pretty good shape. And you know what? I'm going to take your question now. I don't want you to forget. Right. Okay. I'm going to address that. So, okay. Haunted. That's a good one. I know what you're talking about. So let's just talk about that now. So they replaced. There's kind of a rope in the hoistway, and that's kind of the way the elevator travels. And they replace some parts in there, and there are some clips in there that are on back order, and they're coming to actually secure that so it doesn't make that noise. They've assured me with Otis that everything is safe, but that sort of noise, it seems like something is, Ebenezer, but Otis is assured us that everything is safe. But we're aware of that, and they are gonna get that problem fixed. All right, nothing to worry about. It's just annoying and scary. It's not haunted. So, all right. So we talked about the status of elevators. Let's move on to elevator etiquette. Okay. Now, so I think that personally myself, I think that I like to just practice kindness, and Horizon House is a really kind place. All of you are so kind to sit here and let me babble about issues and things that I feel are important to the community, and you're so kind to sit there and let me do that. So I think we lead with kindness in Horizon House, and so I really appreciate that, and I think we're an example to other places in the world and in Seattle to where kindness, that's how people should lead. So let me start there. And I think etiquette is another way of saying kindness. And so there are some bullet points that I want to talk about, because I think some things kind of changed during the pandemic, and maybe you guys have noticed some of the way people use the elevators, and maybe you guys have noticed that, and maybe we can talk about some things that might make it better. But again, I want to lead with this place is one of the kindest places I've ever experienced. So I think the first bullet point I want to talk about is calling for the elevator. And so this kind of happened in the pandemic when, I don't know if you guys remember, where you could only fit so many people in an elevator at one time. And so the elevator was running a lot more because you couldn't get 5 people in. I think at a certain point you could only get 2 people in, and maybe even before that it was only 1. But you can kind of imagine what kind of impact that had on how you can use elevators. And so I think we got into a rhythm, or some people, staff and residents included, got into a rhythm of sort of pressing an elevator button. Let's say it's in the horseshoe 1 through 5, pressing 1 on one side, and if it didn't come, everyone's watching the numbers, going around and pressing another one, and going around and pressing another one. And so I think that we've all experienced where we're on a floor and we wait for an elevator, where we're in the elevator, or we're riding, and all of a sudden it stops and the door's open and there's nobody there. And typically that's what happens when people become a little impatient and they want to play which elevator is going to arrive the fastest, but they'll press all the buttons. And so what that does is it slows the elevators down for people that are riding it, and it also makes the elevator stop more often, which puts more wear and tear on it. So imagine if you're driving your car and you're going really fast and you stop really hard, and you go really fast and you stop really hard. Well, not that the elevators are stopping really hard, but they're stopping more often when they don't have to. It's a waste of energy, it's a waste of time, and quite frankly, it wears out parts faster. So, which can lead to elevator outages or downtimes when they have to do preventative maintenance on that. So, I think if we and I say staff, I've seen staff do it, and we can just exercise a little patience when we step to an elevator. Sometimes if I'm really in a hurry, I'll just kind of walk around and go, okay, this is going to be my side, and then I press one button and then I just wait for it. And I think that if we can get the practice of doing that, there'll be less stops, and the elevators they actually will run a lot faster and be more efficient. And so that's the first thing, I think, calling for an elevator. I've also seen people pressing the up and down button at the same time. And especially where my office is down on the B level, where you kind of see the elevator come down, and I'm about ready to step in, and someone is in it, and I'm like, "Oh, are you coming out?" And they're like, "No, I'm going up." I'm like, "Oh, so you press down and up," and so that, for the same reason as before, can kind of cause some of the same issues. Well, because they don't want to wait. I think it's just patience. They're like, well, I'll press both, and whatever elevator arrives, that's the one I'm going to get on, and I'll just ride it. If it goes down one floor, then I know that I'm on it, so I can ride up. Yeah, I know, but I don't know if anyone else has experienced that, but I certainly have, and so really that's the second half of calling for the elevator that I wanted to mention that might help things run a little more efficiently. The other thing I think is being prepared to get on and to get off. And someone mentioned it before I actually came in this morning. They were like, "Oh, you're doing elevator etiquette. Can you tell people?" And I'm going to quote them, to get out the damn way when the elevator doors open or close. And I'm like, it's funny you mentioned that. That's a part of the agenda. So I think it's being prepared for to get on and off the elevators. And so I know that it's a community and we're engaged with each other. But if you're riding the elevator, kind of keep an eye on what floor you're on. So when it's your time, you can kind of shift to the front of the elevator and get off when it's your turn, or be prepared to get off if you have a walker or groceries or whatever, right? There's sometimes when I know I'm getting off on the next floor, I kind of try to get in the front of the elevator so I don't have to have anyone hold the door while I try to get off, because it just makes it go slower. So that's one aspect of being prepared to get on and get off. But also, when the doors are opening, when you're waiting on a floor and the elevator comes, I don't know who's on it. So sometimes I've been in my own head, I've just got to get here and look at these problems or issues, or I just need to get to a certain place, and I'll come and stand right in front of the elevator door. Well, that's not very smart of me, because if somebody wants to get off, I'm delaying that. Then I have to stand back and make room and, of course, apologize because we're a kind place. But then it takes them longer to get off and slows the elevator down. And so I think being prepared and watching it, also watching the elevator indicator and going, oh, it's coming, instead of talking to my coworker or some of my friends here, just be mindful that it is coming. So when it comes time and those doors open, I'm prepared if someone's getting off. And I'm also prepared to get on, so no one inside has to hold the elevator, which also slows it down. So it's really sort of being prepared, like crossing a street or driving a car when you're waiting for the red light or when the light turns yellow. It's being prepared to react in that way, and that's the best way I can kind of explain it. Hopefully that makes sense. And then the last bullet point is just making room. I know we're all we are all going places here. We're all going places at Horizon House, and so when we're on the elevator, make room. I remember the other day I was reading one of the some signage in the elevator, and the elevator door opened, and I realized I was kind of standing in the way, and someone with a wheelchair was trying to get on, and I had to move, because we're kind people. But I think if I'm paying attention and I make room, I press my floor and I'm just paying attention for the short ride. It's a short ride. Elevator should be a short ride. Then I don't have to move, and that person sees me as a kind person because I'm thinking about others outside of myself. There's room for you on the elevator. When I was standing there, the resident actually said, "Oh no, it looks like I can't. It's crowded." And I said, "Oh no, there's room for you." But from their perspective, when I'm standing in the middle, it doesn't look like there's room. And so I want us to just sort of think of these ways where we can be kinder, and elevator etiquette is really kindness. Hopefully that makes sense to everybody. All right, moving right along. We're going to talk about some best practices. And I kind of mentioned this before when, but I'll kind of go into more detail. When you're on the elevator or off the elevator, just sort of be looking at the position indicator. And the position indicator will let you know on most elevators, except for the North Tower elevators. On the outside, it will let you know what floor the elevator is on and which direction it's going. And so if you're waiting for an elevator and you're, let's say you're on the 5th floor and the elevator is on the 19th floor, you got a little more time. But if it's on the 7th floor, you should be getting ready, getting your bags, or wrapping up a conversation with your friend who's just standing there, so you can be prepared to get on the elevator and not hold the elevator, right? So being aware of the position indicator helps us be ready and helps the elevator run faster. On the other side of things, on the inside of the elevator, watching the position indicator is important too, because if I'm waiting to get off on, let's say, the 5th floor and I'm on the 7th floor, again, I should grab my bags, or I should say excuse me to my friends and neighbors so I can position myself to get off the elevator quickly, and make room for someone to get on. If I'm approaching a floor and it stops, I should definitely, okay, there's enough room for someone to get on. And so really we want to look at the position indicators, and it'll help us sort of be prepared, right? And I talked about this as well, but about not pressing multiple buttons, and that's the up and down button. That can cause an elevator to just work harder. And how the elevator communicates with the computer, if it sees that it's going up and down, it will actually slow down that elevator and may even cause another elevator that's next to it to come when it doesn't need to. If I press up and down, let's say I'm on elevator 4 and 5, which are right in front of reception, and I press up and down, and the elevator's on the 19th floor, it's going to say, well, that elevator's going down and up, and it starts to go down. It's going to call the one from the 19 all the way down here. But if I'm just going up, then it calls it unnecessarily, and so it can cause the elevator 19 to start coming down, only for it not to really need to do that. So we just don't want to press multiple buttons. It just slows things down. The other thing is we don't want to push against the doors, and so I know that sometimes they can get a little packed inside the elevator. We don't want to lean against the door or have a cart or anything pushing against the door. And the reason we don't want to do that is because if the door kind of moves and gets off track, there's sensors and switches inside the door that communicate to the computer inside that says how long to hold the door open, or the door is completely closed and then the elevator can move. And those things can come out of alignment. And when they do, it can cause an elevator to go out. And so where the elevator doesn't think the door is closed and it actually is closed, or it senses that something's in the doorway, or some of those switches aren't engaged because they're misaligned. So we really want to be careful not to sort of push against the doors, because that can cause things to not be in alignment, which can cause an outage. And then the last thing that I want to talk about, there's a lot of don'ts here. But I guess so for best practice, there's a lot of don'ts for best practices. But I digress. The last thing is we don't want to obstruct the door, and so I think that I think before someone said that you shouldn't have your hand in between the doors to hold it. I think the best practice is you can hold a door for a few seconds if someone's coming in the elevator, or it's starting to close when someone's getting off. What you don't want to do is hold it when the elevator is trying to close. At a certain point, it'll time out and it'll try to close it. It's like, okay, you've had enough time. Something's in the doorway that shouldn't be there, obstructing it, not a person, and it'll regardless of your hands in between the sensors, it's going to try to nudge and close the door. And I think that's what we're saying. We shouldn't, I'll answer that question, we shouldn't, when the door is trying to close, obstruct it. When it's trying to close, and even if your hand is in the middle of the door and it's still trying to close, you got to let the elevator go. The only time that we should is if someone is hurt, laying down right there, or if but we don't want it to close on someone. And so I think that I'll kind of explain it in a different way. If you need to hold the door for anyone, if you put your hand in between the door, there's sensors that'll say, hey, something's here, and the elevator doors will open back up. And you can hold it for a little bit of time, but and I don't know the exact time because they're, but at a certain point, it's going to say, okay, somebody's playing a game, or it's not. It just needs to close, and we have to let it. I will say that the North Tower elevators, 8, 9, 10, and 11, will actually start to beep, and at that point, we've gone way too far. Then, in that case, when that happens on those 4 elevators, it will actually time out and stop the elevator, and then we have to have Otis come out and reset it. So that can cause an elevator outage. I'll get to that. I know there'll be other questions. So there'll be a time for that. Okay. That's correct. They are. That's correct. Yes. It is better. But I'm saying that sometimes if you're on the outside of the door, there is no door hold button. And so that's why that's designed that way. So if it's closing and you have enough time and you just get your hand in between that, it'll open back up. Usually. Yeah, I think that some of the service elevators are timed differently than the other elevators. Some of the elevators that are designed to take for medical emergencies or service different floors for different reasons have different time thresholds. So. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, go ahead. Right, and so to answer the first part of your question, if you don't make it in your whole body, because the sensor's in the middle, so if you're, okay, great. What she's saying is sometimes the door will close when with people with walkers, and regardless of if they put their hand in the middle of the door, and sometimes people with walkers are a little afraid of that. And so to answer that question, if you do not cross the threshold, because the sensor is kind of in the middle of the door and you're kind of in the front of the door, it doesn't realize that a person is there. The sensor won't pick you up. So you have to cross the threshold. Safe practice for me is if the door is closing and you are not, if it starting to close and you're not near it, I would just wait. I would just wait for the next elevator. I think if especially if you're in a walker or not a walker or a wheelchair, I would just wait. If you're you have to be pretty quick to get to get your hand in between. You want to be on the other side of the elevator when you get your hand in, not just getting your hand in. You have to be on the other side of it because the sensor strip is in the middle. Does that make sense?
lot of people with walkers, if there's quite a few people that had to exit the elevator, by the time those people have exited, the elevator's thinking, oh, it's time for me to go. And they could be the first person in line, and the elevator's acting like they can't even come in. And so I press the open button and hold it for them so they can actually get in the elevator. Some people would, on crowded times, they'd be standing there with their walker for several times.
So did everyone hear that? So that goes back to my other point about being prepared for when you're in the elevator, being ready. And so if you're getting off on a floor or with a walker, you kind of want to make sure that you're kind of like, okay, I'm getting off on this floor, and I need a pathway to do that. And being kind stewards, we need to make sure it's like, oh, this is your floor. I need to make sure that the person in the walker or the person with groceries has space to do it. And on the inside of the elevator, also being a kind person, you want to press and hold the elevator hold button, just like you described, to make sure they have enough time to get off. Again, that goes back to being prepared, being prepared to get in, on and off. That goes back to this point. All right? And the last thing that I want to explain, okay, thank you, is we don't want to obstruct or force the doors in any way. And so, again, if they're closing and it's timing out, we just got to let it. I mean, live to fight another day and let the elevator close or do its thing and ride it up and ride it back down or wait for the next one. Somebody said something to me at least once a week here. When I say, oh, you know, they say, have a nice weekend. And I say, you have a great weekend too. And they say to me, it's always the weekend. It's always the weekend for us. And so adopting that philosophy, I mean, it's a few minutes and you'll be on another elevator. So I would just say be patient and kind, and especially with all the elevators running, that another one will be there shortly. All right, and let's see. My last sort of point is if there are any issues with elevators or anything, we want to go through the work order process. And the importance of submitting work orders is A, like someone mentioned that there's a clanging noise in the elevator earlier. That would have been a great work order, and it's already been submitted, so we already know about that. But you don't know that. You don't know that, so always submit work orders. If you find something that's wrong or that needs to be fixed, call the front desk, dial 0, and submit a work order versus stopping someone or talking to me in the hallway in the middle of something because that makes it really difficult for me to remember it. A work order will document that. So the work order process is, we're really hoping that is an effective way to make sure things get fixed and handled here at Horizon House. All right, so now we go to the question and answers. I see you were waiting patiently first, Norm, so.
I was one of those people that used to walk around and press all 3.
Yeah, I did too.
And I won't do it anymore since you talked about it.
Thank you. We'll find that they move a lot faster, but I used to do the same thing, Norm. And I think that the pandemic, we were just got in a rush, and especially when people were riding them, and it's like whack-a-mole. You're waiting for an elevator and open, someone's in there, and I got to hit another one here, and then you just kind of pick the best one. And so, really, it kind of changed the way we moved about the campus. And so I think we kind of forgot that, and I'm guilty of it too. So, but thank you, Norm.
Okay, I've got a couple of questions. One, I live on the 18th floor, so I'm in the habit of when there's a number of people waiting for the elevator, I just say, okay, I'm on 18, so let me get on first since I'll be getting off last.
Right.
And if we can talk to each other and find out when we're getting on and getting off, then we can get on the elevator in an orderly way and get off in an orderly way. The other thing is, Eric has said this morning, if you see something, say something. There's a little piece of the curtain that's unhooked up there. Can you fix that?
I'm going to take care of that right after this.
Thank you,
I'm going
Mark.
to take care of it right after. Two of them? Okay, I'm going to take care of it right after. And thank you for mentioning that, because that goes back into going back to the elevators, is going back into being prepared and being kind, which is etiquette. And I think that's great when people talk to each other. Well, and I've had it happen. I'm getting off last, and so I'll be in the back, and the person is like, oh yeah, I'm just getting off on the second floor or third floor. It's like, yeah, I need to be first. That totally makes sense, and it makes it just go faster. You're so right. Thank you. Next.
Oh, it's on. It's on, okay. I would recommend that you abridge this, is that the right word, to shorten it some, and be one of the presenters at the fireside chat, because I think some of the things you're talking about are very important, and this is too small a group.
I think that maybe we might be able to make something smaller, a little bit shorter, and do that next time. I'll talk to them about it for sure.
I wonder often.
Wait, there's your.
Oh, I wonder if it's a proper thing to let the people in wheelchairs go first, no matter what, or rather than
Well, I think,
crowding. Or I just always wonder, do you want to go ahead?
yeah, I think that some people do that where, they realize that it might be a little more difficult for someone in a wheelchair. I think that's a personal choice, but I think you're onto something, and it also depends on, are they getting off first or are they getting off last, and we just need to have a conversation with our neighbors and friends about how to use it.
I have two things I wonder about. Is there a way to encourage people with large carts, cleaning carts and so forth, and even residents with shopping carts to use the freight elevator instead of the passenger elevators? And my second question is there a way to highlight the open door button so people will use that button instead of trying to force the doors to stay open?
Great question. So the elevators, all of them are going to be going through what we call a refresh. We've got some bids out for that, and we're kind of working on budget and that kind of thing. But what a refresh is they redo the insides, and I think that's going to be something, because those elevators are pretty old. The North Tower ones are the newer ones, but they're still hard to sort of like hold which am I holding it, am I closing it? Your eye doesn't go right to it always unless you ride it all the time. And so yeah, I think part of that refresh, they're going to do something like that. And the other thing about the carts, I think we should lead by example in the community, and I know that some of the employees do take the service elevators only. Some cases they have to take a regular elevator, especially some of the elevators don't go to the 19th floor or to certain floors, and they have to take. Sometimes it's a speed issue where there might be a more emergent situation. Let's say people are coming down from an event at the Sky Lounge, and they can't get on that elevator, so they have to take another elevator and then take stairs. And so it really depends on a set of circumstances. But I know that people on the facilities team are really trying to not take take the regular elevators with carts, because they take up quite a bit of space. In addition to that, I know elevator 3, the service elevator right in front of the bistro, that area, that service elevator is quite a bit slower, because contractors, use that primarily, and they're used for carts, and so a lot of things are coming on and off, and so we want it to be slower and the door to stay open a little bit longer. So that, but that's a practice that we're trying to. It's a personal choice, and and I know that as far as employees, we're trying to get them to use the service elevators more. That's what they're intended for. We have a question here.
My question is about cleanliness of the elevators. The elevator troughs here are dirty all the time. Can't somebody just vacuum those out so there isn't grit and dirt?
They do quite a bit, but I have noticed what you're saying.
Well,
and I think
not
they need,
much.
I think they need to do it more often. And so I'll be working with the EVS team and our team to sort of make sure, because to your point, not only does it look bad, but it can cause an elevator door not to close properly or have problems closing. And so that's an issue that we need to address. Thank you for bringing it to my
Well,
attention.
and the other aspect of this is we're trying to get new people to come in here.
Yes.
And if they say, if we can't do anything as simple as keep the elevator troughs clean, what the hell are we all about?
1,000%. 1,000%. Well, I'm working with EVS and the facilities team to get that on a more schedule, on a regular schedule, to make sure that they're cleaned out. Norm?
I'm coming.
She's coming.
Yeah, I wonder if you've spoken to the front desk people about an issue that I brought up to you
Okay.
several months ago. I went to the front desk, and I went to the front desk with my friend here, Adele,
Uh-huh.
and she's so scrupulous that she was picking up garbage out of from the front of the building.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And before I could come into the building and talk to the front desk, she had insisted on depositing it in the trash.
Right.
That's right.
Right. I can have that conversation.
And I wanted you, I don't know if you did it or not, I wanted you to have a conversation with the front desk and not have them make a decision about whether to call you.
Yes.
They should not be making decisions about calling people.
I think that's an excellent point, and again, I'm working with EVS and our team to do more passes on the front area and in the lobby and definitely the front of the building. But if you guys find that kind of stuff, please, with the times we're living in, we don't know what might be on or in that trash outside, and we don't want anyone to get injured or hit a needle or anything like that, or cut your hand onto some glass. And so please, I think Norm is right. Leave that for our trained team, and we're trying to take care of that in a more efficient manner. Yeah, we want to be able to take care of that. All right. Thank you, everybody. I'll see you next month, next Friday. You guys are amazing. I won't. I'm on right now. Thanks.